Hey everybody, this is Larry. I want to talk to you for just a minute about how to conquer worry in your life. During this season in our world, people are worried, they're anxious, they're very confused, and you might be. And this might have you a little scared. Now, not everybody is, but you might be. And so you're a believer, you're a Christian, and you know that you probably shouldn't be worrying, and it bothers you that you do. Because you remember things from the Sermon on the Mount maybe that Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6 when he said, look, don't worry, don't be anxious. Look at those birds. They're not that upset and God takes care of them. Look at your head. You're losing your hair. This is all out of the Bible, Matthew 6. Jesus said, worrying about that, you can't put another hair into your head or get any taller, so don't worry about those things. Look at those flowers. They're beautiful. But even Solomon was not as beautifully adorned as one of God's flowers. So Jesus concludes that section in the Bible and he says, so don't worry. Don't worry about those kinds of things. Did you know it's been estimated that about 90% of the things we worry about never happen? They never come to pass. We blow them way out into the possibilities and we say, oh gosh, that could probably happen. And we get all tied up on the inside. So I want to show you how to stop worrying. When I was a kid, I used to worry about all kinds of things. I was like a little hypochondriac. And if somebody had a disease, oh, I thought I had it. And if they had a symptom, oh, I have that too. And as I started getting older and I became a Christian, I realized this is not good. You know, God doesn't want us living this way. And I discovered that it's not a way to live. And so you're living with worry and you worry about stuff. I promise you, what I'm about to share with you will help you do what God wants you to do, and that is not worry. But I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to do it by telling you the story of a man from the 1920s named Earl Haney. Now, Earl Haney was a good guy, had lots going on for him, but he lost everything. I won't go into all of how that happened, but he was at the place in his life where he lost everything. And it was eating him up on the inside. He went from about 175 pounds down to 90 pounds. He went to see his doctors. He saw 3 different doctors, and they all told him the same thing. They said, you're going to die. You're not going to recover. Your body is eaten up with ulcers. All this worry and this stress that you're under, it's killing you, and you're going to die. And so they put him on a little diet of cream, about half a cup of cream every few hours, and told him just to get a lot of rest, but that he would not, under any circumstances, be able to recover. Well, that isn't what he wanted to hear, but that's what he heard. So I want to tell you what he did and what I've learned to do and what you can do. And those who know me best will tell you, I don't worry about too much. I don't get stressed about too many things. And here is the secret that I want to share with you today. 3 steps. Number 1, imagine the worst possible scenario. What's the worst possible thing that could happen as a result of whatever it is you're worrying about? For Earl Haney, the most worrisome thing about it all, the worst possible scenario, is that he would die, that he would have a shorter life than he expected, that he would not be able to recover. For you, the worst possible scenario is that you could lose your job, you could lose your health, you could lose your family, you could lose a friendship, you could lose any number of things, you could go to jail. I don't know what the worst possible scenario is for what you're facing right now, but think about that and imagine it. Take it as far out as you can, and that'll take you to step 2. Step 2 is accept that. Earl Haney accepted it. He accepted the fact that he was going to die. And he said to himself, well, I better go get a casket. And so he did. He went and bought a casket. He had his casket at the house with him. He had it all ready and everything so his family could take care of him and bury him when he died. So what do? You accept the worst possible scenario. Okay, that may be the case. You may have lost your job, but you can find another job. You may have lost your marriage. You can find someone else to love. You may have lost a friend. You can find other friends. You may have to relocate. Whatever it might be, accept that. Okay, this is the worst possible. They're not going to put me in jail. Nobody's going to shoot me. I'm not going to lose everything. Whatever it might be, you come up with that scenario Take it out as far as it'll go. And then second step, accept the worst possible scenario, as Earl Haney did. Leads you to step 3. What can you do to improve the worst possible scenario? For Earl Haney, he said, well, if I'm going to die, I might as well live it up. And so that's what he did. He took a trip to India, to China, and believe it or not, he took his casket with him. That's right, he took his casket with him so that he said, if I die in India, they can at least put my body in the casket and ship me back to New Hampshire to my family. And so he just accepted the fact that he was going to die. He went traveling around the world. He always wanted to do that. He smoked big fat cigars. He drank to excess almost. He ate strange, interesting foods that he had never tried before. But he noticed something, that after a few days of this, not thinking about his problem, living it up, making new friends, traveling to new places, he felt better. He felt better. And believe it or not, the true story is that he went back home to his doctors. They checked him out and they said, you don't have any ulcers anymore. And you know what? He went on to live several more years. He asked himself, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? He accepted it. And then he went about finding ways to improve that situation. What's the worst possible thing that could happen? 90% of the time, what you worry about never will happen. Accept the worst, find out what's the worst possible thing. Eliminate a lot of things that couldn't happen, except the worst possible scenario. And then build from that. Find ways to improve that situation in your life. You know, one of my favorite verses in the Bible, it comes from the book of Proverbs, and here's what it says. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Don't lean to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge God, and he will direct your paths. You see, whatever it is you're worried about right now, what God wants you to do is this. Don't get tied up and worried about what's going on. Focus your attention on God, and he'll direct your steps. And I think he would lead you to ask, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? Accept that, and then build from it. And know that God is with you. I can't tell you how many times I've done that in my life. I've said, God is with me. God will guide me. God will give me wisdom. God will show me what to do. So why worry too much about that? I hope this has been helpful. This has been Larry from Compassion Care. Have a great day and stop worrying.